Welcome to our Ask an Accountant call for Wednesday, the Wednesday after tax day. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually here.
Woo-hoo.
Um, we have the most amazing Kathleen Peterson with us. Kathleen is actually our coach. I call her our coach extraordinaire. And it's something everybody needs is somebody who's got two ears. Sometimes so that the blah, blah, blah that comes out of your mouth goes in one and out the other, and she doesn't get hooked on it. And sometimes just so she can listen whatever's going on with you. But she's been instrumental in the not just the growth of our practice, but I would say my own personal growth too. And I've known her well, I'm not going to say how long I've known her because that's going to make us sound old. Uh, but it feels like forever, Kathleen, and it's a pleasure to have you with us, have you in our lives, and thank you for being here and thank you for taking time to make a difference with people.
You're welcome, and thank you for that kind introduction. Um, I'll add to that I have been doing coaching for over 30 years, and uh, my audience is usually high performing individuals who are stressed to the max and looking for some work life balance or a way to get more done but with less effort. And Judy's joining us. That's lovely. And so I wanted to start out today a little differently than normal, that we have this little unique way of presenting it and how to train your elephant. It's different than we've done things and I've done things in the past, but I wanted to do it that way because so much of my work is coming from a different angle than most people are used to. So I wanted to give you that opportunity. And Judy, did you want to say anything before we start? I see you that you're here. She's muted, so maybe not. All right, let me get the slides going. I'm going to ask you to listen from the perspective of well, first of all, I'm just going to have you hear a story. I'm going to share a story for you first, with you first. So let's just start with that. Here we go. How to train your elephant. So you might say, what in the world does that have to do with productivity? But I promise you it will get revealed. So here's the little story. Once upon a time, there was a flea who believed that he was the king of the world. One day, he decided that he wanted to go to the beach for a swim. But the western shore was many miles away, and on his own, the flea could only travel inches at a time. If he was going to reach the shore during his lifetime, he would need transportation. So he called out to his elephant, "Ho there, elephant, let's go out." The flea's elephant came to his side and kneeled down. The flea hopped up and pointed to the west and said, "That way, go to the beach." But the elephant did not go west. He rather felt like he wanted to take a stroll in the forest to the east. Hang on, need to get my slides to move. There we go. He's in the forest. So the flea, much to his dismay, could do nothing but go along for the ride and spent the entire day being smacked in the face by leaves and branches. The next day, the flea tried to get the elephant to take him to the store to buy salve for his face. Instead, the elephant took a long romp in the northern mountains, terrifying the poor flea so badly that he could not sleep at night. The flea stayed in bed for days, beset with nightmares of thundering along mountain roads, certain that he would fall to his death, and awoke each morning in a cold sweat. After a week, finally feeling well enough to rise from his bed, the flea beckoned the elephant to his side, clambered up, and said, "I'm not well. Please take me to the doctor." But again, the elephant merrily trundled off to the western seashore, where he spent the day swimming, and the flea nearly drowned. That night, sitting by the fireplace and trying to warm himself, the flea had a thought. He turned to the elephant and said, "About tomorrow, what are your plans?" You're probably wondering what the moral of the story is. It is simply this: if you are a flea riding on an elephant, before you make any plans, you might want to check out what the elephant has in mind. And the point is even more important to your life than it might seem, because in fact, you are a flea riding on an elephant. The flea in the story represents your conscious mind, which includes your intellect, power of reason, your ambitions, your dreams, your aspirations, your ideas, your thoughts and hopes and plans. In short, everything you think of as you. And the elephant, well, that's your subconscious mind, your subconscious brain. All right. So let's talk about that brain of yours, your brilliant brain of yours. Now, you want to use all of your brain. You want to use whole brain thinking, and you want to be able to harness and distinguish the parts of your brain that you want to use and your mind that you want to use at a given time. We need the conscious mind to navigate life. Just to get across the street, we need our conscious mind and brain. But you need to know when to turn off that autopilot that has you going rotely in the same direction all the time, or trying to get you to go in the direction you want to go. So you're either going to train your elephant or you're just going to take a ride. Now, some clients of mine promise to complete things on their to-do list, not a to-do list that I give them. It's they're always their own list. But week after week, they sometimes don't get those things done on that list because something takes precedence over the items that they had on that list. And one of my clients would get up every morning, in fact, and she would say that she wanted to be healthier and stronger. But that alone did not get her to go to the gym, to work out, and or even to take a walk instead of working doggedly in front of her computer without a break. In her case, we took baby steps, which we'll talk more about, and taught her elephant that it wanted to go exercise, it wanted to go to the gym. And she now has a solid practice of continuous self-improvement for her health and her strength. So how do you train your elephant? I believe that each one of us has a profitable practice. You have something that I'm going to say is a natural routine, rhythm, pattern that you take actions on when things are working well. And it helps you to manage the details and your energy, and your habits lead to a practice, obviously, and that's unique to you, only you. Everybody is different. Even if you've never thought of this as a practice before, you actually have one. And I help people to identify what that practice is, and we can talk more about it. And by the way, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, or save them until the end. I'm happy to work with you on specific things for your profitable practice if you want to have some support in that today. Anyway, the main part about this is you probably don't think about this practice until things start to fall through the cracks and until things don't work in your profitable practice. So we'll analyze things a little bit differently when it comes to that, but that's going to be kind of a caveat for us shortly about what doesn't work. All right. And that's easy for people to come up with all the time. Now, once you get habitual and then you get a good profitable practice, you can also get a sacred practice. Now, this client I was referring to really holds it sacred that she is going to do this fitness for herself and make sure that she lives the longest, healthiest life she can have on this planet. And so a sacred practice is something you may already be doing or that you may long for. In her case, she longed to do this fitness program that kept her healthy and stronger. It has you grounded and connected to the divine as well. And it's very personal. It's going to be very personal to you. And there's a practice where you can connect your heart and your creation center by just putting a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach, which is the chakra for the creation practice, and just breathe between them. So if you just do that now, put a hand on your heart, a hand on your solar plexus or just below. And take a nice big breath. And imagine connecting your heart's desire to your creation, and then your creation to your heart. Keep breathing that way, connecting the two. Excellent. That is a very simple practice to just slow things down in the middle of a day when things get hectic, to connect your heart to your creation and your creation to your heart. And above all, trust yourself. You have a wisdom that you probably don't even think about or don't call a wisdom. It is just who you know yourself to be. But trust that in yourself. All right. Another piece about training your elephant is the upsets. Everybody has upsets, probably several times a day. And I believe that upsets are not really a problem. Limitations, frustrations, restraints, or obstacles are really, I consider, a window into something that needs to be changed, an access point to something that's calling you to change. And it is, oh, if you look at them as, change the context, if you will, and look at them as something that needs to be changed or a gap that needs to be closed, then you don't have to feel like they're upsets. You actually take the control of them and can make them your friends. They can make them something that's an asset to you. They're things that are going to serve you. So the next time you consider being upset about something that's happening, maybe you want to consider it's a gift in a very ugly package. All right. I see a note in there that says, from Vikram, can you specify an example? Let me go back and do that. So an upset might be, I have a client right now who's stressing about not feeling like he's not in the right position, like he's taken on too much responsibility in the job because he feels like he's dropping things out. And so when I worked with him, actually this was today, when I worked with him, we talked about if that was just his own critical thinking, his own inner critic saying that he wasn't good enough, or if he had evidence for it. And for the most part, his manager was saying, everything's fine. You're great at what you do. I just want a few things tweaked. So we knew that that was a window of opportunity for him to look at his mindset, to look at how he perceived himself, that maybe he's in the perfect role, or at least the company thinks he's in the perfect role. Whether or not he thinks it at the moment might not be, but he's going through something personally. So that's one example. Or another example might be that you're not getting everything done on your to-do list and you feel overwhelmed by your to-do list. And maybe what you need is a new structure. Maybe the way you manage the things you have to get done in the course of a day is off whack, as opposed to you being off whack, as it were, or out of alignment, or not doing things the way you think they should be done. Maybe you need a structure or a system, and that's showing you that you need better systems for maybe an incredible growth spurt that has happened in the business, or a period of time. Like right now, we're coming out of tax season, and I know that Bill and Judy have gone through a lot to make sure everybody got their taxes done. They got everybody's taxes done for them and got them out on time. And so anyway, so it could be something that is short-lived and needs to be addressed immediately, but it's going to resolve itself soon, like the end of the period of time here, or it could be something that's longer term. Okay. And if you have more questions on that, we can talk more about that afterwards. So I love this saying, small hinges move big doors. Even baby steps they count. Even baby steps can help you in changing and training your elephant, or changing behaviors that you want to change. Like, for example, if you think about having a new practice every week, then in the end of the year, you've done 52 new things for the year that has moved something in the direction you want it to go. I used the COVID lockdown time to work on my own personal practices. I looked for ways to improve practices. Like I had found that I wasn't reading as much. And when I was in COVID, we were obviously you're not seeing as many people, you're not doing your activities like you had been doing, you're not going out to the store as much or going to social activities. So I had more time. So I looked at how I wanted to read. So I had books on Audible that I would do when I took my walk every day. And I started walking every day. That was a new habit that I created. And I still do that today. And I never let more than 2 days go between exercise. If something, you know, stuff happens and you can't get to the gym or you can't get out and walk or whatever, weather's bad or whatever. But I make sure there's never more than 2 days between exercise. Um, I floss my teeth on a daily basis. I wasn't doing that. So it can be something little or it can be something big that you create these practices around and keep track of the practices because otherwise you'll absorb them, you'll just start doing them, and you won't even remember that you've added all these new practices that actually enhance your life. Um, the other thing that's a small step that you can do is if you're in um, like a frustration of some kind. Say, for example, you're trying to get something done and technology starts going wonky and you can't get the internet to work or you can't get something to work. You might want to literally get up and move. That's the time to get up and move away from your desk, either walk down the hall, get a cup of tea or coffee, do something for yourself, or go outdoors and get out with nature. But whatever it is, you need to shift gears. And sometimes that little thing, even if it's only like 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, can make all the difference. You come back to your computer, you have a fresh mind, you're not as frustrated, and the challenge resolves itself more quickly. And the other thing that I'm very fond of saying is you may need to build more structure. And what that may mean is, like I said before, a better to do list or a system of managing all of your priorities. It may mean boxing yourself in by having an accountability partner for things that you want to get accomplished. It can be any number of things, but you want to look at what the structure is. And that's just kind of how my brain thinks. So I'm always a good resource if somebody needs structure. All right. The other thing that's really crucial is you got to shift your mindset. And Dr. Joe Dispenza said the quantum field responds not to what we want, but to who we are being. So these little steps of changing these little habits and improvements that we do, that's changing who we are in the world, how we operate, how we do things. And so that will shift the major things in training your elephant. It will shift the bigger things. That will lead to the big leaps as opposed to the baby steps. And when your elephant takes you on a joyride, you have choices. You can take a pause, take a nice deep breath, do the heart connection, heart creation connection if you want to do that. Or you can get up and take a walk. But either way, you have a choice. You have a choice that you're going to continue to be upset and frustrated, or you can surrender to the way things are going, or you can use that as an opportunity, like I said before, that this is a window of opportunity for you to see something that needs to be changed and then figure out what that change is and make that change. So training your elephant is really not that complicated. These are some of the simple steps to do. Use all of that brilliant brain of yours, both subconscious and conscious. And by the way, you access the subconscious brain differently than you access the conscious brain because the conscious brain wants the linear, the logical, put things in order, put those structures in. But the subconscious brain wants to just note, hey, I'll take a picture of something. And if it's not in conflict with who I am and my core values, it'll just set about producing it. In some cases, you can circumvent that conscious brain that's keeping you from doing something like that inner voice that says, oh, you can't do that, or you're not capable of that, or we all have that little inner critic. You can circumvent that by simply giving a picture to your mind of something you want to create, like a visual, and it'll just set about doing it. So having a vision board or something like that in front of you, or a vision book, some people do, or a collage of some kind can help with accessing your subconscious mind, as well as, of course, meditation. Meditation's the best way, or I think it's one of the best ways to do it. Create your profitable and your sacred practices, and that will take a little bit of time, but you can do it. And you want to look at what you're already doing really well to do that. Allow your upsets to guide you. Take baby steps or giant leaps, they all count. Manage your mindset of possibility. And if you're stuck, get somebody outside of yourself to help you get out of that mindset. And someone who won't listen to you when you say, I can't. Someone who says, well, you're totally capable of that. And then pause, breathe, choose, and then shift. And always, as I said, trust your inner wisdom. All right, so that's a snapshot of it, and we can go much, much deeper on this. I thank you for that, for the pleasure of being with you today. And if you want to take a screenshot of my contact, you're welcome to do that. I see that there's another question in the chat. I'm going to end the slides and come to you and answer any questions and go further in if you'd like to go deeper. And then I also wanted to let you know that the Elephant and the Flea story is taken from a book called The Code to Joy, The 4 Steps Solution to Unlocking Your Natural State of Happiness by Dr. George Pratt and Peter Lambrow, PhDs. All right. So I'm going to open it up now. I saw that there was a question. Bill, I didn't see the question, though. My chat's not showing. Oh, here, let me get to the chat.
Okay.
Could you say more about allow upsets to guide you? Yes.
I will say one thing is you don't allow anybody to say, I can't.
Well, here's the thing. I
Oh,
really
the
believe,
question was from Hans. It was allow more about upsets guiding you.
yeah. The main
That's a
thing
good
is
question.
if you have an upset, the furthest thing from your mind is how is this going to serve me? It's like get me away from this. Get out of here. Get rid of it. Make it go away. Make it fixed. Get it fixed. And that's the opposite of what I'm suggesting here. I'm suggesting that that upset, no matter what it is, can guide you to something that needs to shift. So let me think if I can think of another example. Other than the one with my client.
Kathleen, I'll have one.
Yes,
If,
please do.
if, if we get too many tax returns on March 28th through April 5th, that we can't get them all done,
Yes.
we write down next year, contact our clients in February and provide a discount for turning them in early. So getting
Brilliant.
angry doesn't do us any good. It just takes
Right.
away our energy from getting them done. But
Right.
identifying the cause allows us to shift up and think about solutions.
Right. It also points to, Judy, that thank you for that. It also points to that you would only get upset in that situation because you have such a high commitment to serving your clients. That if you, because you know that it's going to put you in a time crunch if they're all coming in late. If many of them come in late. So good. That's wonderful. Thank you. It was a great example.
It's interesting because as a kind of a humorous thing, and I know we have clients on this call, I wouldn't want to do my tax return in my frame of mind from April 5th to April 15th.
Mm.
I am much more creative, and maybe that's the thing I have to get across to all my clients somehow. I am much more creative when I am not have a time crunch on my head. The
Brilliant.
time crunch on my head, you do what's in front of you, and
Yep.
you try to be creative, but you don't. And
Well, you don't have the bandwidth. You don't have the bandwidth when you're frustrated.
Yeah.
Good.
And so that's the thing is maybe we need to have a seminar with some humor to it on February 1st on things people should know about an accounting firm from April 5th to April 15th. And maybe that would just be automatic inspiration.
Maybe. That sounds good. So even dialoguing about it right here is giving you new ideas. Do you hear that you're coming up with new ideas?
Yeah.
So I hope that was a good example, Hans, for seeing upsets can guide you and be an opening. So, was there anybody else that had any other specifics of their own life? Something that you're dealing with that maybe you'd like to have some support since we're here? I see no faces right now. Everybody's got their camera off.
Yeah, if you're waving your hand, we don't see it.
Yeah, right. We don't see it. All right. Well, maybe people are complete with that. Judy or Bill, was there anything else you wanted to hear? You have heard my work long before, but anything else you want to underscore or ask about?
Well, I think when I think of this, I saw Sharmila's comment about why I'm so calm and composed. Well, it's because you're not talking to me between the 5th and the 15th, Sharmila. That's why.
Bill, I did talk to you. I did talk to you even on the
Did you?
well.
But
Yes, I did.
we don't do any of our planning in that time. We do our planning at
I
other
saw
times
about
when we can.
planning.
We're all done by then. We're just like wrapping up little things. I think that the thing I've noticed is like one of the things that always matters is like as you bounce from thing to thing to thing, how do you keep track of your time? You know, because it's like it's easy to get this phone call comes in and then that email and I gotta go do this and and I had that guide me. And what I've started doing is it's like I put everything in my calendar as I'm doing it. So okay, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this, you know. I schedule things, but then in addition, it's like I have blank spaces that I've started to fill in. It's what works for me. I've
Yeah.
also written it down on a pad of paper so I know what I'm doing because after about 2 hours of being here, I've forgotten what I did 30 minutes ago. So I think it just kind of gives me an idea. It also it's for my own productivity. So I know I'm getting stuff done because if I'm not keeping track of what I'm doing at the end of the 2 hours, I'll think I've done nothing.
Well, and that's really valuable, Bill. I'm glad you said that. And so it points to number one, those are structures, as simple as they seem, those are actually structures that serve you. And you have also created a profitable practice around it that you force yourself to use it all the time. So
Mhm.
it's habitual for you. You've created a good power habit around that. And the other thing I heard, there's one other thing I'm drawing a blank on. Oh, just again, it's the same. It's that commitment to your clients that you and Judy have, that you're making sure that you accomplish what you say you're going to accomplish for them.
Right.
That's huge. You know, it's
Yeah.
great. And Sharmila, was he calm during that time when you spoke with him?
Oh, absolutely. He's always calm. Every time I call him, it doesn't matter if I call him on a Saturday morning or on a Friday at 6 o'clock. The composure of Bill is amazing. So,
That's
and
great.
Thank you.
just to add to Bill's question, I'm a CPA too, but I don't have like a full-fledged practice. But I have this habit that I developed and inculcated like, 25 years, 28 years back, where I have this notebook with me. I always jot down who I called, who I talked to, my to-do list. But sometimes the day gets the better of you, or the calls get the better of you. So
Yes,
how
they
do
do.
you refocus and get back to the list?
Yes.
Well, that's really a great question. I usually tell people first of all, you have to notice it. You have to notice it before the end of the day. If you haven't noticed it until the end of the day, then you have no choice you did what you did and you didn't do what you didn't do, right? But to get yourself refocused, if you can notice, hey, I'm off track here, that's usually when I say that's a great time to interrupt. Go do something else. Go get a cup of tea. Go to the restroom. Go do anything away from your desk because you feel frazzled. You can feel yourself get amped up because you're doing so many things that are not on that list that you really want to get done in the day. So if you can interrupt yourself and go out and then come back, don't take long, maybe 15 minutes at the most, but come back and say, I'm starting fresh. And sometimes I'll tell people to clear off your desk, like put
Yes.
things in order on your desk. So put projects together. Don't have them overlap one another. Don't have somebody else's file open inside of another person's file or something, like do whatever you need to do to clear the desk, including clearing your desktop on the computer if you need to. so that you can actually get back to the list. Now, that presumes you have the list. You have to start the day with a list. And I usually tell people, do that list the night before so that you come into your office and you hit the ground running with what you say you want to do. Because many times that first couple of hours in the morning when nobody else is around is so productive because nobody's there to interrupt you until that phone starts ringing, and then you can get derailed. Does that happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and I see something else.
Yeah,
Vikram
you
said,
should read that, Kathleen. That's
I
a
think the
great
challenge is we are good at meeting commitments to other people, but not to ourselves. Oh my God, this is so right on. That is why I am late on getting my data for tax filing, prioritizing meetings, employer commitments, and pushing personal commitments behind. Oh my God, Vikram, this is, the nemesis of everybody on the planet these days. We are so you-oriented and not I-oriented. And we think that we should not be putting any attention on ourselves, when in fact, if you burn out, there's nothing more of you to give. So you really do need to start inching your way into that schedule. So Vikram, either on chat or come off of mute and tell me, what are the things in your life that you are not getting to, that you are putting on the back burner all the time? I don't know if he's there yet. He's probably typing. All right, so let me just talk.
So
Oh, there you go. Good. Come.
couple of things, right? One was obviously getting the data for tax, but there are other things that I actually wanted to work on, which were a lot of soft skill development, some technical skills that I wanted to develop, and they get pushed back.
Yep.
And for us also, because quarter one is, it's a quarter close, 31st March, first quarter. So there's a lot of push also at the company that we are trying to make numbers. It's also what we want to show, that we're meeting our projections or forecasts for the year.
Yep.
It's a mad rush. So sometimes that's what happens. I am so knee deep in that I don't. I'm just too tired at that one point to pull all the data together that is needed for other stuff.
So regarding the pulling the data together for tax filing and everything and prioritizing yourself, can you create a habit of pulling that information together as it occurs so that it's all ready to go and all you have to do is hit send when the time comes? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, and I tried it this year, but there's certain pieces of data that I have to wait, and then I'm busy in my own stuff. So when it has come, I've forgotten it, because you know how W-2s and
Yep.
various documents come, they come in tranches.
Right.
And the people who give you the last are the investment companies, or if you have real estate companies, those give you the last. And
Yep.
you have to chase them in most places to get data. Because large companies, your W-2, your 1099 interest, those are very regular. They're on a schedule. It's
right.
These other companies which are similar, like you, who are probably
Yep.
not prioritizing, that you have to chase it.
Okay, so in those cases, I would pull together every piece of information I can as soon as possible. And those that you have to wait on, and you're going to have to wait on them, if you can still keep the dollar amounts in your mind on an ongoing basis throughout the year, so that, I'm assuming you're giving them to an accountant. If you're doing them yourself, I assume you're giving them to Judy and Bill. Yeah. And when you do that, if you can keep track of that and put them in the portal on a monthly basis or something, so at least that part is there. They could start them, and they may still have to file an extension for you because you don't have the W-2s and everything you need from the official documents, but at least they could get them started. And if you owe something, then you could pay and not have penalties, and still move the process forward. But be overt about saying, hey guys, you're just going to have to file an extension for me because these people aren't giving me what I need. Do you see what I'm saying?
So
It's like, go ahead.
I wanted to insert something, Vikram, because I have a client that did this in another company. I had a client that did this and I forgot about it till we were just talking. And it takes one of Kathleen's principles, which is a 15-minute task and habit stacking. So what she used to do is that during the day when she came home from work, she would look at her mail, and that was, she came home, looked at the mail, sorted things out, threw them in an envelope. The stuff that went to me went in a separate envelope. And she had on her table, now this is way back when, before you scanned everything, she had on her table a list that we had developed of everything she needed for her tax return. And every time something came, she marked it off while she was going through her mail. So it was a habit of getting her tax stuff together around the habit of going through her mail, which is an automatic thing. So if you figure out, like, let's say you get up to have a cup of coffee. When you get up to have a cup of coffee, go through your email and say, oh, these are all for Judy, put them, just upload them in a share file, or upload them in a file on your cabinet that then ultimately gets uploaded. And that's what Kathleen was talking about, not necessarily throughout the year, but if we develop for you a list of all the stuff you give me, and then from January 1st on, every time something shows up, you load it, mark it off, and you don't have to think about it until you then go back and look and say, what am I missing? Because that would be the way to not have to do all of it. And that feeds into one of the other habits that I have when I'm working. I have emails coming in at the rate of 4 or 5, 6 in a minute, and I will go get a cup of coffee and then I won't want to go back to my desk. I get so resistant. And the way I've trained my elephant is I say, all right, we're going to go back for 15 minutes. All we have to do is 15 minutes. And my elephant believes me. And we go back and sit down, and 3 hours later, you know, we get up for another cup of coffee. So I have to keep luring myself back with a false promise. Or one of the times I actually made my daughter put a piece of candy on the desk. So I got lured over to eat the piece of candy. So it's all about, what do you do that motivates the subconscious to think it's okay? Because I'm not kidding you. If I get up and go to the bathroom and get a cup of coffee, I want to walk out the door and stay outside. But I come back in because I'm just going to do 15 minutes. That's all, just 15 minutes, and I get to get up again. But I know once I get into that work, it takes me over. So that's what it's all about, training your elephant in bits.
Good suggestion. I will try that. I think procrastination is one thing I've been working on. I do tend to procrastinate, and in all fairness, Judy's given me a lot of stuff, and it's not someone else's fault. Most of the time it's my fault too, that I procrastinate. So
Well,
Vikram, don't feel too bad, because I have about 50 people that are in the same boat with you.
Exactly.
the other thing I want to say about that, Vikram, is I have a completely different take on procrastination. It is something that's part of training your elephant, definitely, if you know that that's in your persona, that you tend to do that. But I want to say that I really believe that there is no such thing as procrastination. There is just, we're choosing to do one activity over another. And I don't think you're going to get the juice you want out of that, beating yourself up for procrastinating. Because if you're going to, make yourself wrong for having done one activity over the other, that's not going to make you want to do it anymore. It's just one more thing you beat yourself up with, so maybe just you chose one way instead of choosing the other way. And next time you might choose differently. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to feel bad about the fact that you made the choices you did. There's nothing wrong with you. I personally think that everybody's perfect already. They're magnificent. And now we just have to, I also think that we're also human, and that we have little challenges that get in our way of doing what we really want to do in life. And so we just got to learn to build the structure and close the gaps of the things that aren't working for us. But there's nothing wrong with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathleen, what would you say would be 1 or 2 books that our guests could, are you hearing me? Yeah. 1 or 2 books that our guests could take away with, that might have some of these ideas in a deeper fashion for the, but this has just been a 45-minute to an hour presentation. Where would they find this same concepts, maybe in a book? And I know nobody has time to read a book, but if you get it on audio tape and you listen to it while you, have your dinner or something, you can get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah. So Atomic Habits is probably the number one that I would say. It's a fast read, and it has just a wealth of information on these habits. Like when Judy said she's habit stacking, that's directly out of Atomic Habits. I'm drawing a blank on the author's name. I'll go get the book in a minute if we need to.
James
I'll
Clear.
look it up.
James Clear.
Thank you. Thank you. And then another book that really helped me a lot, and somebody said something, Shamarla, I think it was you that said something earlier about starting your day or getting caught up, the day starts the one way. And that is, oh God, The One Thing. It's called The One Thing. And again, I'm drawing a blank on the author, but I can send it out. So Judy and Bill have it for you if you need it. But The One Thing talks about, pick the most crucial things that you want to get done and start your morning off with that one thing. And you only do that one thing for a specific amount of time. Like say from 8 to 9, every morning, you're going to do that one thing and nothing else. And in some cases, they say do the whole morning just on that one thing. Like if you're going to write a book, you're going to only write for the first hour or two in the day, and so anything you want to take on that's a bigger undertaking, you want to do only one thing for a specific time period so that you can do it. And then I'm very fond of The Code to Joy. That's the one I took the story out of, by George Pratt, PhD, and Peter Lambrow, PhD. The story is on chapter 13. And it's got just a wealth of information to really retrain that mindset of things that you don't even realize are playing out and is your elephant playing out under the surface all the time so that your flea gets back in control. And really, it's not even about control. It's more about surrendering to life and doing the life the way you want it done. So.
And Kathleen, I want to say that Code to Joy was huge for me because for me personally, I was able to work with somebody and uncover a trauma where I had fallen down a set of stairs in the train station in Chicago, right behind falling down on the sidewalk in the city of Chicago. They both happened and they both hurt and they both traumatized me, and they set me on a path of I can't trust my body.
Wow.
Will stop me from doing anything physical. And if I did, I still walk looking at the ground and have to be constantly lifting my head. But I was able to at least identify what that thing that the elephant really believed, so that I can be constantly counteracting it and constantly retraining it to what I really want.
Good for you. And do you want to reveal to everyone that you told me that was I had permission to do, that you were the client I was referring to earlier that wanted to create that?
Can tell me that I'm the one that works every day.
Yeah, Judy's the one. Judy's the client who wanted to have a stronger body, and she now is doing that. It's doing everything to make that happen.
Yeah, I just found out on Tuesday that my orthopedic surgeon said I don't need knee surgery anymore. At least not for now.
That's pretty
Congratulations.
exciting.
That's lovely.
Oh.
Lovely.
The
All
book,
right.
The One Thing, is that by Gary Keeler?
Yeah, that's
Or
the
Keller,
one.
Keller,
Keller. Yeah, Gary Keller. Great book. Yeah. Good.
All
All
right.
right. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I'm actually currently reading this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. So,
I tried to read that book and I just couldn't get through it. I just couldn't do that one for some reason.
the only reason I mentioned that is it sort of ties to your presentation, because we sometimes overthink and say, hey, I need to do this, or this client may not be happy about my work, or you're always trying to be this perfect employee to the employer. And in the process, you forget your own self. And so that book talks a lot about just forget it. You are the priority. Nobody else is. Because, like as Judy said, if you fall down, you're going to be the only one helping yourself. Nobody else is
Right.
going to be helping you.
Right.
So,
Right. You're the only one that can toot your own horn. And, you know, it's something that I don't know how we've all been ingrained that we're not good enough, but
mhm.
we're all brilliant creations. Do you know? I mean, you think about it, you know, the universe, God, whatever you say, doesn't make any mistakes. Do you know what I mean? We are all a creation that is magnificent. And so if we can look at how we can get that expressed more in the world, I think we're going to have a lot more fun doing what we do and also not be beating ourselves up in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that, Shamila. Well, that is a completion for me. If anyone else has anything else that they want to talk about, I'm willing to stay here and answer any questions or talk to you about your specifics.
Well, I just need to take a minute and say thank you, Kathleen.